the one cool thing I think about like your podcast, and which is an awesome thing, is just like you kind of can relook back at, history, and like there were some pretty cool people. And then like, so many people you've had on the show, I kind of know, and then some people I never knew. And it's really cool. It was like everybody's from a different background and different personality. And then, and it just makes me, like, when I'm listening to these things, I'm thinking back on myself. I'm like, yeah, like I wonder like what people thought of me back then, or like, and then I look back and I'm like, but the amazing thing is I just, people have some very vivid memories. Like I know you like just pull out these details about like the hallways and the classrooms. And I'm like, I couldn't even tell you who like my teachers were in school. Like it's terrible. So like it's, for me, if I don't make a note on something, like I'll just forget it. Right. So it's pretty cool, because it does bring back some pretty good memories and just things I just completely forgot about. So I think, I definitely commend you on doing this. It's an awesome forum.
Thanks, man. You know what's funny is that almost everyone talks about their memory and how they're almost like embarrassed by like, I'm not going to remember anything. People are sometimes reluctant, like I don't remember anything. It's not going to be any good. But every time someone says something on the podcast, someone else DMs me or texts me to say, oh my God, I'm just listening to that podcast. I totally forgot about that thing. Everyone always remembers one or two things that everyone else listening completely forgot about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So together we're like building a whole memory,
That's right. That's right. I know. Rewriting history, even if it's like incorrect, we're just making this, right? Like, yeah, there's like certain things I do remember like so vividly. And then there's just other things like, just, it's just not top of mind. So you just forget. And then, like, I don't even like, I don't feel old. Right. But like, I look at my kids, like my son's 9.5 and my daughter's 6. And I'm like, wow, like that makes me feel old. And I look back, I'm like, wow, like we graduated, 20 years ago. So it's nuts. A lot of things change, but it's cool to kind of revisit everything. It's kind of neat.
Yeah. So let's revisit you a little bit, Jeff.
Yeah.
Let's where did you come into Wissahickon?
Yeah. So my parents bought it. So we lived in Gwinnett Valley. So on Plymouth Road, which is that road that kind of shoots off real quick on an angle off of 202, right near William Penn Inn.
Yeah, down I used to connect to like Gypsy Hill and all that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So we were a couple houses down on like the right coming off of 202. And I think my parents bought that house in 86, I believe. But I was still, we lived in Roxborough. So I was still going to Philmont Christian Academy. And then I transferred in second grade, and then to Bluebell Elementary. So then I was there, and then I was in Wissahickon the rest, through 12th grade.
So they bought the house, and then what were they like, building it or renovating it?
It was new construction, and then I don't know why they kept me in Philmont. Honestly, like it's just my brother and sister. I'm the youngest, so I have an older sister and then a middle brother, and I'm the youngest. So they went to Wissahickon, but then I was still going to Philmont, which I hated because the trip was so long, such a long ride on the bus, and I think I told my parents, like, I can't do this anymore. So they just transferred me into Wissahickon, and
the school life balance just isn't working for me.
Oh, dude. So there's one story that I always remember. So it was like winter, right? It was like, I think they were calling for snow, or there was snow on the ground. It was just really cold. I forget exactly what it was. But my mom had bought like a snowsuit, like a full body onesie snowsuit, right? Like the kid from A Christmas Story, like the brother. And like, I was so embarrassed to wear it. Like, she got me on the bus. I was like miserable. The bus pulls up to Philmont. I wouldn't get off. I was like, I'm not going to school. The bus driver drove me back home. And then, and my mom's like, what the heck are you doing home? I was like, I couldn't wear this thing. I'm not going to go to school and wear this thing. So I was like so embarrassed to wear it. And I think that was like, the point where like, okay, we're moving you to the local public school district. And that was it. But I still remember that. That was just, I used to get so embarrassed with that stuff.
Wow. Like a nice little hour-and-a-half round trip.
Yeah. Yep. That's me, man. Being a pain in the ass. That's for sure.
So then when you got to Bluebell, second grade, do you remember any like differences just as far as like the difference between going to a school like that and then coming to like this public school?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I really remember was just like the Bible studies at Philmont, and just and we were never raised very religiously to begin with, but it was just kind of there, and moving over. I mean, I don't really recall too many things moving over. It was just just a different environment. I remember elementary school being really fun. Like I remember just having a lot of fun playing with people, having play dates, and that's really it. Yeah, I didn't really notice too much of a difference other than just shorter commute, between
Yeah.
between the schools.
What were you playing? Who were you playing with? What were you doing in those
Yeah,
days?
back then, I want to say like one of my earliest friends was probably like Scott Beck, I think. I think he went to Bluebell. And then I don't remember who else. I think Scott Ritter went to Bluebell too, I believe. Um, so there was like people like that, and I always felt like,
Scott's guy's named Scott.
yeah,
Where
yeah.
was, where was Scott Jordan?
Scott, I don't know about that one, but like, um, it was. I feel like who else? Like the timing I always get confused because I remember like at some point I got into Little League and I was playing with a lot of those guys like and it probably spread into middle school I would think, but um, like I remember like I think Chris McQuaid and like maybe Eric Milhorn. I used to play with Pete Stampone. His
Were you
dad
doing
used to
like
be our coach.
were you doing like
It was
WRA?
I think it was Lower Gwinnett.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like on the Tigers my whole playing career.
Was that like a steady thing? You were on the same team all the entire time?
Yeah, so like I think I had an extra year compared to a lot of people because I was born in August, so I was always on the younger side of like our class. So like I think when we graduated, I think I was 17 when I finished high school.
Wow.
Um, so I think with the little league, the cutoff, I was able to play like an extra year. So I was like this like old kid with like all these younger kids.
But you said the Tigers the whole time. The team stayed the same?
Yeah, yeah. So like at least I was always in the Tigers, and I don't remember how they picked the teams honestly, but I was
Yeah.
never a different team. Yeah, it was weird that way. And then I remember, yeah, I forget who else was on our teams. It was different people every year, but I do remember like Pete Sampone's dad was one of our coaches. I remember that. 'Cause I remember I think he was driving like a Ferrari at the time, I think, and he was a roll up in that thing. And
Isn't that like is Walter Matthau like a lawyer in Bad News Bears? Isn't that like is that what he's doing? Is he like a lawyer or something?
yeah, see, I guess the same thing, right? Yeah,
Right?
it's like,
Is he drinking like martinis on the bench? Like, come on, kids.
that's right. That's right. He's like, it's like all I could think about is like Emilio Estevez and like Muddy Ducks. He's doing it for like the jail term, like the probation, right?
You
Um,
really suck.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was just stuff like that. But and I was never a good player. You know what I mean? I just played. I think it was just like my brother was always kind of better at sports than I was, and I think I just kind of fell into it. But then I was just always like an average player.
My first team, I played T-ball. I played an Ambler. And my first team in T-ball were the Tigers.
Mhm.
And like you, I wasn't the youngest, but I ended up like in a fourth year of Little League
Mhm.
of the minors when
Yeah,
all my friends went to the majors, which was like player pitch.
yeah,
And so here I was like 11 in the minors. I'm
yeah,
like 120 pounds.
yeah.
I'm like
That was,
5'4", like, and they're throwing me,
yeah,
and I'm just cranking them out to the second field.
yeah, yeah. That was me because I remember like in elementary school I was like pretty skinny, like normal. I was like blonde haired kid, type of thing. And like middle school, I like porked up, man. I like packed on the pounds, and then yeah, I was like towards the back end of like little league, and I'm like, I don't fit in with these like younger kids. And then because I remember one time I was playing, it might have been practice or something, and or it might have been a real game. I don't remember, but it was just some small kid like pitching to me, and I just cranked this line drive and just hits him right in the chest and like completely like knocks him out. I felt so bad. I was like, yeah, I'm like I probably shouldn't be playing at this level right now, but.
Yeah, I was always afraid of player pitch because I would get hit. I would always be. Once I moved, I did the minors for 1 year, and I was terrible. I remember the coach was like doing batting averages. He was telling everyone their batting average, and he skipped me. And I was like, "You didn't tell me." And he was like, "Are you serious? Like you never ever get a hit?" Like,
Yeah, that's right. You just stand there. Yeah, I do. I remember a couple of things. I remember one time. I think it was Chris McQuaid. We were just throwing the ball around, and he was batting. I was pitching. I remember he just laced one, hit me like right in the temple, and I was seeing stars for like 10 minutes. And that stuff, yeah, it's scary. It's scary. Like you look back at it, you're like, holy crap, like that could have been real bad.
Besides like sports, baseball, what else were you into? Like what
Yeah,
were you doing around the neighborhood?
yeah. So like the one downside where I lived was like Plymouth Road's like the death trap. Like people are flying down from 202 like 55 miles per hour. So like my parents, like we didn't really go past our driveway. So we had a really long driveway. So like I was always just riding my bike, or I got into like street hockey. I was like crazy fanatic of hockey. So like my whole life was Flyers hockey. Like my dad, he had bought season tickets right when, what was it, like the Core State Center, whatever it was first called, First Union Center, whatever it was called when it first opened their stadium.
Mm-hmm.
He'd bought tickets, season tickets. So like that hooked me from day one. Like we would go to games. Like I would go to games on school nights, on weekends, and it was like 40 home games, 41 home games. So like we were going all the time, and it was like it became like an addiction. Like I loved hockey. Like the only thing I remember with school is like when you had gym class and they're like, okay, you can go play kickball, you can go out in the soccer fields. I'm like, do hockey, on the gym floor. And that's all I ever wanted to play. And that's all it ever was. I watched every Flyers game. I was like, so like at home, I was always playing street hockey or roller hockey, like with my brother or like our neighbors. And then as we got older, like especially when I was able to drive, like I was driving to people's neighborhoods, and like Alex Mader, he was a huge hockey fan too. So like I forget, I guess that was high school maybe, like, being friends with him, and like, we would play. I think even Justin Duffner would play, but like a bunch of us would go, and I don't even remember what neighborhood it was, and we would just play these massive street hockey games. And so I was doing that, riding bike, and then there wasn't too many people on my road that went to Wissahickon. Like I remember, I think he was the first house on Plymouth, Bobby Triple. I don't know if he graduated with us or not. Yeah. So I remember being friends with him.
Shout out to Bobby Triple. Can't find him anywhere. I gotta tell you, every time I go, maybe I'm spelling triple wrong, and I double P's, one P, ELLE. Like I can't find that guy. Bobby. I remember Bobby. Loved Bobby. He was a fun guy. Passed out with blood. That was my memory of Bobby Triple. He couldn't stand the sight of blood.
So the one memory I have of him is like I remember we were on the bus, and again, I don't know, it's probably like middle school or whatever. And like, I was like, hey man, like, where were you yesterday? And he's like, oh, I took a mental health day. Like his mom would give him mental health days. I'm like, what the heck is that? What is that? I'm like, you just don't show up to school that
way ahead of us.
Yeah. Like, that's amazing. I know. So, but yeah, I remember him. I remember being kind of a quiet guy. And then Jenny Martin was my neighbor behind our house. So like her house you would get to from 202, but we shared a backyard. Like we had a fence in the backyard. So she was like probably the first person I ever met or I ever knew when I moved in to Wissahickon, because like we were neighbors. And then Marsico and Martin, like we were always in the same homerooms and lockers. Same thing with like Javier, he was on your show. Like we were always in the same areas. And then other than that, like down towards like Gypsy Hill, I think it was Gypsy Hill, there's like a neighborhood, Rob Hostetter. I don't know if he graduated with us or not, but like I used to go to his house a lot. Like I would ride my bike down when I was a little bit older and go to his house. And he was like in the woods. So like we would like walk the train tracks and all that stuff. But that was it. Like there was really not many other people on that strip for Wissahickon. So I didn't really have that much exposure that like I missed out on, not having that like community feel.
Growing up in Ambler, I would play at Alex's house. We would ride our bike from like South Ambler all the way to Madison Avenue where he lived. We all had, we had sidewalks. It was very travelable for kids.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah. You weren't too far from there. So
no, I remember like, so even, oh my gosh, his name is Sean McNamee. Like I remember, I think, I hang out with him, and like, I think he even went to a Flyers game or so with me and my dad and stuff like that. And Yeah, it was like my whole life, man. It was just like Flyers hockey and street hockey and rollerblading, you know, that was about it.
Gotta ask you, because every time anyone talks about rollerblading or hockey, I gotta always ask them the movie Airborne. Where you
Airborne,
at?
yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still talk about it with my neighbors here. It's just so funny. It's like what, like Seth Green and, you know, like, yeah,
Jack Black.
yeah, it was like pretty much my life, you know what I mean? It was just like I was pretty good with it. I even joke around like with my wife today. I'm like, you know, like I kind of want to get rollerblades and like just go like, rollerblading around my neighborhood, you know. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I loved roller skating. I was a big roller skater in my neighborhood, like to the point where like I wore holes in the tops of my roller skates. And then
Yeah.
when it got to like, oh, you're old enough, you got to go to roller blades. I didn't get it. I couldn't do it like on the street. Like you couldn't glide. Like maybe just had to work harder, and I couldn't do like the backstop, and like it was all very scary. And so I just kind of
Yeah,
gave
yeah,
up.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when I was a deep into my teens, I watched Airborne again. I was like, God, this is so much fun. And I got another pair of rollerblades. And like, I was so out of shape, and I just used to side to side, just kind of like roll around like my
Yeah.
apartment building. And I was like, this is not what it looks like in the movies.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
out on this.
That's right. I know. I know, until you like jump off a wall and like get like a compound fracture on your ankle. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
it's yeah, it was fun. Like, yeah, because I was buying like pretty high end rollerblades. And then like I remember I was like buying like special wheels and like ball bearings to make it like, you know, be like faster. Um and yeah, I was doing like like ice hockey stops on those things, like kind of like just coming to a quick stop. And yeah, it was fun. Like I was super enjoyable. Yeah, it was like a cool thing to do when I was younger.
So what happens then when you go like into middle school? And I talk about it all the time, like when you go into the pod world, but it sounds like since you it didn't sound like you had like a steady group of friends from like any specific area. So when you go into middle school, do you remember? Is it just like, are you meeting new people, new experiences, kind of gathering a group of friends at that point?
Yeah, I I think like middle school and on, I got like super kind of introverted, you know, like I wasn't super outgoing. I'm still not that outgoing today. It's just, it depends who I'm talking to. Like I've always been never one to like really start a conversation or even know how to start a conversation. I'm like, but if you say something to me first, like it'll open me up, you know?
Mm.
And I've gotten better with it now. And then even just once I'm comfortable with somebody, I'm very extroverted like that way. It's like, you know, I'm the goofball, crack jokes, like love practical jokes, like things like that. Just like inappropriate stuff. That's like, you know, just that's it. But like, yeah, like if it's just random people, like if there's like a group of people, I wasn't probably going to approach them. Right. It was kind of like the gym class, like, oh, you like hockey too? All right. Like that's, you know, that's how we're friends. Right. And we would hang out that way. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't say there was a consistent group of like, people I would know. Like really, you know, it was like a couple people this year, and then the next year is a different type of people. And like middle school, like I remember, yeah, like I remember hanging out with like Tom Scuderi and was it Forrest Sellers, I think, right? Like I remember we used to go to each other's houses and we would cause some trouble. Like I got in trouble a lot in middle school. In middle school.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, I was bad. I was bad. Like so I was like looking back, it's like I was such an a-hole, man. Like it was just like I was the kid who would do something just to call shit. You know what I mean? Just to get like a some type of reaction out of somebody or whatever. And it was like looking back, I was like, it was pretty mean. Like I shouldn't have done that stuff. You know what I mean? Like
What were you doing?
I remember one time I think it was middle school. It was like we were doing like the Pledge of Allegiance, you know, like you stand up and I forget his name. He was like a bigger guy. He was like Asian, you know, or like Filipino or something. I forget who it was exactly, but like I pulled his chair out, right? So like when he sat down, he fell, right? And he was fine, but he got up and he just socked me right in the back, right? And then we both got in trouble and detentions and stuff like that. And you know, stuff like you know, I regret doing that stuff, you know what I mean? But like I thought it was funny at the time, right? And then but you look back, you're like, that was pretty much of a jerk move, you know what I mean? And then stuff like that. And then I think it came to a point where I was like, I grew up, I matured enough where I was like, yeah, it's not who I want to be or who I am. And
Dude, that was like totally me in middle school. That was how I got in so many, confrontations. Was I was just doing things for reaction, like, oh, this,
yeah,
like, I can see that sort of thing, like, oh yeah, this guy's standing up. No, like, if
yeah,
I, like, no one's gonna see if I pull this chair. I got this. I got him.
yeah.
And
Like
like
it sounds great, right? But it's not.
yeah,
It really isn't. Yeah. Like I feel so bad about it, and it's just like, but like, and it's even with, and I see it more too, like with having my kids now. Was it's like, listen, like I go back to them and be like, at the end of the day, just be a good person. Like you're not gonna get along with everybody. There's gonna be mean kids, and be nice kids, but like just be nice to everybody. And if someone's being mean to you, just walk away, right? And like, so you learn a lot, like just going through your own experiences, and yeah, I don't know why, like I was rebelling for, like it was, like I don't know if it's being the youngest and felt like neglected at home. I mean, I don't really know, you know what I mean? But it was just,
yeah.
um, and I had a bad temper too. Like I was like, super easy to like set off with, with stuff. And, um,
That's interesting.
yeah,
Describing yourself as kind of like an introvert,
yeah,
but then having like these moments where you're like letting all your emotions out. It sounds like.
yeah. It was like, it's like the point where I'm pretty patient, but like you get me on that certain level of like, it just snaps and you're like, you just lose your cool. That's what it was. You know what I mean? And I don't know what it would cause it. You know what I mean? But it was just like, it was there, right? And even to this day, like you get me riled up enough, like I will end you. You know what I mean? Like it will just be like, you're like, whoa, where did that come from, right? It's like stuff like that because, um, but it's just dumb stuff, man. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what it is, but you learn from it. So
That's funny. That is so similar to me. And it took me, I got in fights in high school over like, I would do something like that and,
mm,
stick my nose in something or think I'm being funny and I would hurt someone's feelings or I would instigate a situation and then find myself in like these fights or like these shoving matches or like these face to faces or just these arguments in class. And then I would get in trouble for it. And then I would
yeah,
end up getting like labeled for being difficult or being a loudmouth or,
yeah,
starting trouble. Did you start
so
feeling like you were getting labeled?
so and I don't know how long it spanned for, but yeah, I don't think I was. I think it was like just occasionally with things. It might have just been one grade, like 6, 7 days. I don't remember when, but like, um, yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know what was causing it or like why I was doing it. Right? It was just, I don't know what it was. I really don't know what it was. I think it was also just like, not to like blame it on other people, but I think it was like kind of like the people I was hanging out with too. Right?
I was gonna say, you're hanging with Tom, you're hanging with
Yeah.
Forrest.
What's up? Yeah, I don't want to blame them, right? But it's just like, it just we were
You were
doing.
dangling on cool kid. You were dangling on cool kid territory there, which
Yeah, it could have been me bringing that. Like, I don't remember if it was like who someone had to think of the idea, right? Like, I remember one time, like my one neighbor, they were terrible people, and like like I remember one night we just like went in there and like we shook and sprayed like soda cans all over their front door. You know what I mean? We got in so much trouble. Just dumb stuff like that.
well,
You know what I
Tom
mean?
talked in his about doing dumb stuff like that,
Yeah, yeah,
in a high school space. But it sounded like you were
yeah. That
hanging
was
out with
middle
him.
school. It was definitely middle
Yeah.
school. Yeah,
And
'cause
then
I don't
you
know if we hung out in high school. Like like I think the one thing with me was I feel like I can get along with anybody, right? Like I remember being like I could really even though I wasn't really opening up conversations a lot, it was like I could speak with anybody, I could get along with anybody. Um, but because of like that generalized nature, I never got like super tight with anybody over time, right? So like I think I always had like these acquaintances, right? And I knew people for a long time, but I was never like super deep with anybody in particular, I would say, right? And I think part of it was like a defensive mechanism type of thing on my end. Like I never wanted to put myself out there that much. But like, yeah, it's just I think like it is with school, like people are in your different classes, you meet different people, and it's just but like I think generally speaking, like over time, like I was always like friendly with everybody. If I knew you or I met you or like we had some type of interaction, we usually laughed, had a good time, and but we never really saw many people outside of school, just because I think a lot of times it's just like, if I didn't drive, my dad was working all the time. So like, it was up to my mom to drive me around, or once I started driving, then I was doing like the street hockey, driving around doing street hockey. But
what was your dad doing that he was working all the
so
time?
so I do what my dad. So I do financial advising, so financial planning. So growing up, like my dad, he like in the early 90s, he's been an advisor for like 40 years. He still works to this day. I still work with him. And he back then, had the family, had the mortgage, had our office in media, which it's still there today. And but he was trying to build his clientele. So he literally worked Monday through Thursday. I never saw him until like 8, 9 o'clock every night. So my mom was like the stay-at-home mom. And then and that was it, what I mean? And then I would see him like Fridays and weekends. He would take me to like Little League and things like that. So so what he does, like, and he's been doing it for so long. And then me, eventually, I didn't go there directly, but I've been working as an advisor for like 13 years now. So I work with him, work with my brother, and that's kind of what we do now. But like my mentality on it is like, family comes first. So like I'm not working every evening, Monday through Thursday, because I need a life and I want to be around for my kids to enjoy them. So, whereas he was like, my mom was home, so he could go and work and build up a practice and be fine.
I wonder how much the acting out had to do with, just not seeing your dad 4 days a week.
It's possible. It's,
a lot of mine, my parents were going through shit, and, eventually got divorced after 7th grade. So like a lot of my issues were like dealing with just like that, like anger, I think that investing or festering. Yeah. Like inside of like, dealing with like the anger of like the stuff going on with my dad. And then like as my parents got divorced and I saw him less, and like those were all, it took me a while to like have coping mechanisms and get better.
Yeah.
And
When you're,
like that temper and
and when you're young, you don't know how to manage your feelings at all, right? And that's the one thing I learned too, is, I mean, we grew up pretty privileged, like, like Gwinnett Valley. Like, it's funny, like you tell people you're from Gwinnett Valley, like, oh wow, you must be rich, you know what I mean? Like, it's like that little enclave of, like, and it's just like, we were always like, fine financially, but it's just, I mean, like every family has its problems, you know what I mean? And like in the moment, like you said, going through divorce with your parents, and like, it's never easy, right? And that's why, like, I look back now and I'm like, you can never judge somebody off of like one thing, because like you just do not know what's going on in their own life. And I really see it today with my clients, because like as bad as I think I've had in my life, like, just, we can go through it, just crazy things in my life. Like, some people have it way worse. And like, and it's just, if someone's just having a shitty day, and they just, doesn't mean they're a bad person. Like, you just don't know the genesis, what's going on. Right. So I take a much bigger holistic picture on things, because back then, I would probably judge first. I'm like, oh, so-and-so said this. I'm like, it must be an asshole, like, type of thing. And, and it's just dumb stuff. Like, it's just, kids being kids. But you're right. Like, the home stuff, it's just, I'm sure that was affecting it to a certain degree, but, but I had a happy childhood. Like, but I don't know what it was. Being youngest or, whatever it was, but it was acting out for some reason.
Being that you were a hockey kid, I'm just taking a shot in the dark. Was there any shot of you not going to Wissahickon? I have friends that, went to LaSalle in high school, and I know that was like the hockey school. Was there ever were you ever like looking at the fact you loved hockey and you couldn't play it as a school sport going into high school?
So that was one of the things, like, I wish I like was more like, I'm pretty like ambitious and hardworking, but like it takes me to, like, I wish I was more motivated to actually see things through. You know what I mean? And that was one of the things, like, as a kid, like, you're right. Like, I loved it. I loved playing. Like, I was good at it. Like, I was really good at it. But the problem is, like, I think was like I didn't have the ice team, right? I think it was a club maybe, but I'm not 100% sure. But then like, you know, for me, I'm always worried about like, well, who else does it inconvenience, right? It's like, well, my mom's got to drive me around, or it's this extra cost. And I would always find an excuse, right? So like, I remember doing like some type of like a rec league. I think like Whip Pain might have had like an outdoor roller hockey league one year. It was pretty cool. So I remember they had like inflatable boards, like a rink.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I think it was only for like 1 year, you know, and I don't know what happened to it, but yeah, I mean, like I never learned how to ice skate. Like I think went ice skating a couple times with like friends or, you know, whatever. But yeah, I never learned. I just did roller hockey. But like, yeah, I wish I would have probably pursued it more. But again, like back then, it's like my parents like were always like they never pushed us like to do one thing or the other. Like they were so like laid back with things. It was like, you know, you do what you want, you figure it out type of thing. The problem is like I almost wish I had some more of that structure where they're telling me like, okay, like you should really think about this or do this because this is how it can help you out in the future, right? So like for me, I never had that direction, which I kind of wish I did have. But then I know like I think I forget who else was one of the episodes was like, you know, you gotta get good grades and you know get A's and whatever. And it's like to them, it's sometimes it can turn you off, right? As as a kid. So
Yeah, I think classmates came out of this sometimes, like in what you talked about, like came out of it and then like went hardcore into like what they thought a path was going by like scholarships or whatever. And they get into college a couple years in, they go, one, I don't think I want to be working this hard all the time. I feel like maybe I missed out on some things, but two, I don't even think I want to be doing this thing I worked this hard to get to.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I think like like, and I see it with like my kids too. It's like, I tell them like, you know, like listen and learn and whatever, but like I want them to figure out their own paths. You know what I mean? Like I want to guide them to make reasonable decisions, um, but yeah, I think my parents were just so hands off with things, and maybe it's like because I was the third kid, you know, and
Right.
I don't know, right? Because I was always
They've done it already.
yeah, it's pretty much what it is. Like it's you know, what was I going to say? Like I was always like an average student, right? Like I say, like a solid B student, right? Like, you know, but like I have the capability to do better. It was like when I got through college and things like that. I mean, I had like 4.0 in college, like when I really took it seriously.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, for whatever reason, I just didn't take it seriously, which, you know, which I do regret, like in the back end, because it's like I would have made things a little bit easier for me on, you know, moving forward. Um, but yeah, it was that, and then I got in. So like I it was probably like middle school, but like I started to love to cook too. So like it was like the onslaught of like I think it was PBS had like, you know, like Julia Child, like this is like Julia Child and like John Penn and then like Food Network I think was starting to like come out like with their own stuff.
Emerald was killing it at that.
Emerald, yeah, bam, yeah, like so like um so like I was getting into cooking, right? And then I kind of got into like pastry and like desserts. So as I got older, like I had like one focus, and that was to be like the most world-renowned pastry chef that ever existed in the world, right? That was my ambition. So like as a hobby, like I would cook. Like I would not so much like cooking dinners, but like baking and things like that. And I was really good at it. Like it got really good. And that's kind of where, like, as I transitioned out of high school, I went on to try to pursue it. But, but yeah, it was like, that was also a big part of my life too. It was like expressing myself through food. And I did like,
Did you do like home ec?
yeah, like home ec. And then, I feel like I was like, you know, I knew more than the teacher, you know, type of type of stuff, you know?
That's so
Yeah.
different. When you're in high school and you're like seeing this pastry, you're getting into pastry and you think it's like something, you start seeing it's something you want to move on to. How do you go about learning? Like, how do you know about culinary school? How are you, you know what I mean? Like, what was your process, or what was your steps to like learning and getting that knowledge? Because I think the biggest thing with like, with me and with a lot of students that I've talked to is they had a skill set. And then when I ask them, like, did they get any guidance? Did they get any help? It's often like, no. And they went into a different direction, and it took them maybe 20 years to get back to doing something similar to what they actually wanted to do. But we never knew how to do it then. Did you got that help?
I did, yeah. So when I was like 13 or 14, maybe, I got my first job. Like I always wanted to work. It was like the weirdest thing. Like I always wanted to have a job and make
If
money.
you tell me you worked at Clemens as the pastry chef.
I did, but that wasn't the first one, right? So it was funny. Like, this is like so egotistical, man. But like if you would have asked me when I was a kid, like what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would tell everybody I want to be a rich man, right? It's a joke in my family, but that was my line. I want to be a rich man. And so at 13, 14, whatever it was, I became a busboy at Johnny Cross. Did you ever hear of that place? It was like an Italian American restaurant. I forget where it was. It's not even there anymore. I think it might have been like a Korean place afterwards, but like
I know the name, but it's in my head. It strikes me as like one of those places that I couldn't afford to go to.
yeah. So
I don't know if that's true. That's just
it's possible. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember, but like the owners like were awesome. Like the wife's name was Maria. I just remember her. She was like the front desk lady, and I was a busboy. So like I would work every Friday night and usually Saturday during the daytime, or sometimes a Saturday night, and I bus tables. I made so much money doing it, like outrageous amount of money. And because what would happen was I would get my tips from the waitress, but then like at the end of the night, like the owner would be like, "Hey Jeff, like what did so and so give you?" I'm like, this. And she's like, "Oh, okay." And she would just open the register and just start handing me like $20 bills. You know what I mean? Like, so like every night I was making like over $100 in money. It was insane. Like it was nuts. And I loved it. Like my parents would come for dinner Friday nights, and I would like bust their table, and Johnny Cross had like always like like music night, like I forget if it was a band or whatever, but like they would play like 60s and 70s music, like Bee Gees. So like me, I love old music. Like I like all music, but like something speaks to me, like just that older 60s, 70s, 80s music. Love it, right? Like on like um on like the Alexa, like the Amazon thing. There's a station called Yesterday Cafe. All I listen to, man. It's like, it's like just like old school music, and like it's so bad, but like I love that stuff. And so that job was great. It was like I made good money. I got to experience like the lifestyle of cooking, like being in the kitchen and talking with the chefs, and it was really, really fun. And then I quit there. I don't know why. Maybe it was they sold or something. I'm not really sure when they closed, but I went from there to Garden Golf up in Montgomeryville.
that's a switch.
Yeah, which was, I don't know, like how I started choosing these jobs. Like I would just put applications out. Like I remember I applied for like Haagen-Dazs in the mall, in Montgomery Mall, and things like that. And oh, and the funny thing about that is like I submitted an application there, like when when I was like, whatever, ninth grade, 10th grade, or whatever it was. And like they literally called me like 6 years later, like saying, "Hey, we got your application. Like you still need a job." I'm like, "What the heck are you talking about?" I'm like, "I like 6 years ago. I'm like, I don't need a job." But like, but Garden Golf was an awesome, awesome job. It was so fun, man. Like the weird thing is, I don't think there was anybody else who worked there from Wissahickon. I think I was the only Wissahickon person there. A lot of North Penn, like Methacton people. So I had a lot of friends from like those other school districts, probably like stronger friends there than I did in Wissahickon. And like I was like like a cashier to start, and then I actually got promoted to like a supervisor there. So I was doing like the cash counting every night, which was like, talk about like cash flow. Those guys made money hand over fist, like insane.
Garden Golf was popular back in the.
Dude, it was so popular, man. And like I would, I played, like golf to a certain degree. So like I was just, I would hit the range every day, and mini golf. And I would give people when would come, I would give them a free round or whatever. And it was great. It had like the go-karts, the arcade, the mini golf, the batting cages, like really, really awesome place to work.
I had such fear about working where people from Wissahickon could see me.
Yeah.
My first job was a McDonald's in Drescher, and
Okay.
partly because my mom knew the manager at the Drescher one, but like I was like, yeah, I don't want to like work at like a
Yeah.
McDonald's where someone's going to come in, and then I went to Wawa right across, right down the street from school, and I remember it was always because I didn't get along with people from school, and so it
Yeah.
was like this awkward like, oh well, now I can't fuck with you because I'm on the clock, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like, is this all you'd like? And
That's right. That's right. The PC stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Are you just getting like, I just told you to go fuck yourself in science class, but
Yeah.
do you just want this iced tea? Is that all? All right.
That's right. That's right. You spin in it real quick, Yeah, yeah, like it was fun. Like I remember, yeah, people came from Wissahickon, and I don't think people ever gave me slack for it, which is cool. And so I was like pretty keen on cooking, and like you would see ads on TV for like the Culinary Institute of America, the CIA up in Hyde Park, and Johnson and Wales, and things like that. So like what happened was I got an internship at William Penn Inn. And that's where I did my work study there. And the pastry chef there, well, she's not there anymore, but like her name was Regina Mason. And she showed me all the ropes. Like, we pushed out a lot of good stuff, and I learned a lot of different things. And it just kind of cemented my decision to go to culinary school. And but I didn't go. So my whole thing was like, I think like the CIA, I think Tom might have went there, I think he said, but it's like, I think that is like a full blown education, I believe. From what I remember, I think you get like an actual college degree, or maybe Johnson and Wales is like that too. And I was like, no, I don't want to be in school for 4 years. Like, I just want to like learn cooking and apply it, right? Like I can always go back for a college degree. So that was my mentality. So there was a school that was kind of new called the French Culinary Institute, and that was in Manhattan, and it was only a 6-month program. And I applied, got accepted, of course, because like as long as you have money, they'll let you in. You know what I mean? So like, so I went there for the schooling. But like, yeah, the Clemens thing, I didn't work there until after I graduated. But like, I mean, I can give you the whole iteration of it. But like, so like I went to school, I came back to the area, and I worked for like this guy in Exton, which is really like right down the road from where I live now. And he was like one of the most world-renowned pastry chefs. His name was Gunther Highland. He was like an Austrian pastry chef, like 60 years old or whatever he was. And I worked for him, and really it was a cool job in that like it was him and me. And then he had like this part-time employee that he had worked there for like years with him, knew him and his processes and everything, but it was just us. We cranked out like crazy amounts of production. So we were doing pastry, not just for like restaurants, but for airlines and a couple casinos in Vegas.
Oh, wow. So super commercial.
Yeah. Crazy amounts of production, and just like, I mean, his walk-in freezer was enormous. It's the size of my house. It was insane. And the problem was, and I don't know if you know, just like if you've ever watched stuff, but like there's like a kind of a pretty like apparent like knowledge that like if you're like a European chef that's like 60 and older, you're usually a complete asshole type of thing. And this guy was, right? So I think their mentality is like, I came from a poor village. Like I worked for this, I worked my way up and, worked 100-hour weeks. And his mentality was like, you got to do the same thing. So I was pushing like crazy long weeks, tons of like my overtime check was like bigger than my base check because I was working so much overtime.
This is at 18, like 6 months, yeah. 6 months out of your 6 months out of high school and your 6 months of college.
Yep.
And you're back in the area. Wow.
Yeah. So I was, so I was driving there, and then, and yeah, he was just like, he knew his stuff. Like he was really good at what he did. The problem was he was a complete jerk. And what happened was he killed it for me. Like he killed my passion. Like, because at some point I just realized like, you know what, like this might just be a hobby and not a career. And not I want to blame him entirely, but it just like something happened when I was working there where I was like, this is terrible. Like, I don't see a future. So I had to quit. I was like, so I called Regina, who was the pastry chef at William Penn Inn. And at the time she had left and went to work for Clemens Markets. And I was like, dude, like, give me a job. Like, I need to get out of here. And she hired me. So like I worked there. And the unique thing about Clemens was, even though you had the individual supermarkets, Clemens actually produced most of their product off site in Toamenson, and they would ship it over at night through the trucks to each store every day. So like if your mom bought you a happy 20th birthday Brad, there's a chance I could have made that cake. You know what I mean?
Ice cream cake.
Yeah, you know, so it's just stuff like that where it was cool. You know, I mean, a supermarket bakery is not like working at like Le Cirque in New York City. You know what I mean? But like it was a job, and from there I went to school. So like I was working there, and I went to Montco for credits, and I was like, you know what, like, I'm actually going to go to college, and kind of rolled it out from there.
So you didn't really have like a go-to outside of like you had baking, but you didn't really have a go-to in high school that you were, you know, that was like like for instance, like I know I was good. Like I thought I was going to go into theater. So, you know, like chorus was super important and I did musicals. But outside of that, like I remember I was really good at math and that was like something I could handle. I wasn't, you know, I was good at like political science. I was good at public speaking, but like, you know, different avenues that I thought I could like branch into, but it didn't sound like you had like you had any other
that was it.
Directions.
That was like one of the problems I would say is like I was so focused on cooking and baking, like I just ignored everything, everything else. Right. So I didn't have like a backup plan type of going on. Right.
Yeah.
So it took me a while to kind of figure things out all during that time. But I wouldn't like trade it at all. Like culinary school was in Manhattan. So I lived on Roosevelt Island, which is like a little island between Manhattan and Queens. And just being in New York City was awesome. Like great living experience. Like got to do so many different things. But I was up there during 9/11, which was extremely scary because I was only a mile away from that when that happened. So like that's a horrible day in my memory, like with what happened, but like but just, you know, what I learned there and everything, it was a great experience. Like I wouldn't trade it because I did learn like time management and just kind of grew up a lot quicker, I feel like, just for being thrown into that environment. So that was pretty cool.
That stuff's all important. Like when you're, you know, it's part of like growing up and, you know, besides the academics or the skill set that you're learning, there's a, you know, being on your own, having to make classes, having to make appointments, having to keep up, you know, relationships and all that thing. That's like a part of the college life of growing up.
Yeah. It was cool because I mean, you know, me coming from like Gwinnett Valley where I'm like so sheltered with things, you know, you really like have no idea like what goes on in the world, like outside of your own environment. And I mean, you know, you learn really quick. Like one of the cool things that like I don't really appreciate until I was older was like the diversity that we had around us. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I look back and it's like, you know, like a lot of my friends were Korean, right? Like, you know, it was like, you know, I just kind of, you know, knew them. And, you know, in Wissahickon had, you know, a large African-American population, Italian, you know, Asian, like that's pretty cool. Like, I think that's an awesome, like thing to experience. And then with even like with culinary school, like you go out there and you got like people from New York who are like, you know, hardcore, like take no crap. And then like this guy from Israel, he's like, you know, he's, you know, like pretty tough dude. And, you know, people from, like, there was this one girl from like, I think she was like from like Ecuador or Argentina or something. You know what I mean? Like you get, even like my roommates were from all over. It's like a cool living experience that, you know, like I'm glad I got, you know, which was.
Did you have anything like when you were a kid in between loving hockey and discovering baking that just like as a, like I wanted to be an astronaut? Was there anything that like shot in the dark that you just grew up wanting to do?
Yeah, no, not really. I think like really like once I kind of honed in on like that cooking thing, it was just like nothing really changed my mind, right? I was like very just singular looking, couldn't,
Wow. Dude,
yeah,
that's like whiplash, right? Like where
yeah,
the instructor kind of kills it for the kid. And he almost, he performs well out of spite.
yeah.
That's incredible that's what really killed your passion. And that's really all you just want. That's all you wanted to do.
Yeah, it's all I wanted to do, and yeah, it's just I woke up the one day. I'm like this. I was miserable. Like this is I hated going to work every day. I ate in my car. I was like Nambi Alson. I was eating in my car every day. I didn't want to like. I just needed air, and and it just it was just terrible. But yeah, it was kind of a wake up call, and I kind of eventually got into what I'm doing now. But it was but it was cool. Like I think like even though it didn't work for me necessarily, like those trades are extremely valuable. Like you can be successful and do what you want. And I was always very business oriented, like doing stuff on my own. And but yeah, it's there's a lot of cool stuff to learn. This with cooking too, but it's a tough lifestyle though as well. Like you're got to work all the time and have no weekends usually and things like that. So it's
Right. Nights, holidays, long
mhm.
hours on your feet. Kitchens are really fucking hot.
Yeah, yep,
That
yeah,
was my thing. I did a little bit of cooking, and like the sweating that I did was just, you're in the chef's
yeah,
coat and the hat, and like I
yeah,
just sweat uncontrollably. And not for nothing,
yeah,
like when I'm sick,
yeah,
I can't operate. And no one wants to
yeah,
hear that, because like there's no like other shifts. You
yeah,
work your station every day, and if you call out, someone else that's already there has to come in and work your station also. Like,
yeah, 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 yeah,
and all that was just a lot of like, oh, I don't want to be that guy or do that all the time, or you know what I mean.
yeah,
You never. Maybe it's just laziness. Just like, I need a break. I need an easy day. Like, I'm the type of guy that,
yeah,
like, when I used to work at Wawa, I was telling someone this the other day. When I used to work at Wawa, I used to hope for power outages.
yeah,
Like, I couldn't wait for there to be a
yeah,
power outage, because we have to close the store.
yeah,
You have to
yeah,
close down the store, and then like all that's left to do now is throw out the ice cream and write it all off and lock up and go home.
yeah, yeah,
I used to, like, you get it one time, you go, that was cool how we got to go home like 3 hours early that one day. Boy, I hope
yeah,
that. And now you're just like, you're just hoping that like this old lady accidentally puts her car in drive instead of reverse and like drives through the vestibule. So you have to like close, like, you're just hoping for ridiculous shit to happen just so you get a one day of something different in the
yeah,
monotony that is just working my shift.
yeah, and that's like the thing too is I I do appreciate like the monotony to a certain degree. Like I'm very regiment oriented. Like I could eat the same lunch every day. Like like for me, I could eat the same thing every day and be fine with it. You know what I mean? But then part of me like urges for something different too, right? But it puts you out of that comfort zone with stuff like that. But yeah, it's I mean it's pretty cool. Like it's just for me, it just again it just comes down to like the learning experience and um like I wouldn't trade it for anything, but it was, but yeah, for sure. Something happened where it was just like, yeah, this is not going to fly anymore. I can't do it. I need to go to school and do something else. And that's kind of what happened.
You had like kind of like acquaintances and some hockey friends, and then you go to New York for 6 months. What's that like then when you come back? You're like, that job does not work out, and now
Mhm.
you're at Clemens. What's that like being back at the area, going to Montgo after you kind of already had this? Like, you talk about, the experience that being in New York gave you, being
Mhm.
back home now. How does that feel? I know for
Yeah.
me, only because I know for me, and I've talked about with some other people, like the whole idea of Montgo, and Montgo was awesome for me. It changed my life. I got my associates there. But I didn't want to tell anyone I was going to Montgo. It was
Yeah.
202U. It was the 13th grade.
Yeah.
A large population of our
Yeah.
class was there. You're seeing those people, and it was kind of like, you fucked up too, huh? Like, that's kind of like what I
Yeah.
thought, unless you were going there to be a nurse, because that was the
Mhm.
scuttle. It was like Montco had a great nursing program or a great dentistry program. It's like, outside of that, oh, you're just taking like general education. Cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's
You
that
couldn't
like
get
coming?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, what's that like
Yeah.
coming back and
So,
doing that?
yeah. So like, I don't remember exactly how quickly I went back to school or I went to school because it had to be some amount of time, um, but yeah, I mean, that was like the weird thing is it's like, yeah, everybody went off to college and kind of on their own thing. And, here I'm back in the area and it's like really the only people I knew was from people working from like the Clemens, really. So, so that was that. But like, it was for me, like what I did was I like just mentally, I was like, you know what, like I'm going to school, I'm going to put all my effort into it, and like I'm going to get good grades and advance myself that way. And so I went there so I was still working at Clemens. Like I worked the whole time I was there, but I was at school full time.
Mm.
So I was like, super busy that way. And I think I was there for a year and a half, but I got almost 2 years full of credits because I was doing summer sessions and all that stuff. And then but yeah, I never had like the like the negative, like, oh, you went there or what, anything like that. I just kind of viewed it as like, hey, I'm just trying to get credits to figure out where to go next type of thing. I was trying to figure out life. And what I did was I got, those credits, and then I transferred down to a school in Florida Gulf Coast University, one of the state schools down there. And I just kind of moved down there and, went to class in shorts and flip flops. And
Yeah, it's another switch.
well, also the reason behind that is my parents had bought like a second home in Fort Myers, Florida, Southwest Florida. So like I had been down there for some vacations, and I was like, you know what, like I need to transfer somewhere, and there's a school like half a mile down the road, which is awesome. There's like palm trees, and sure, and I got accepted and transferred down, and that was awesome too. Like that was a great experience too. And same thing, like I really like, I mentioned it before, like the diversity, like down there, like I had friends from all over. Like I have friends that are from Bosnia, and then I have two good friends that are one's from Colombia, one's from Ecuador, and like that's just to me is like really cool. It was like I just love the backstory for those things. And I was down there for 2 years, and I got my my bachelor's down there in finance, and then I and then I moved back up here. But yeah, I went there.
Was the finance like was it like a no-brainer, a default? Like, did that happen while you're at Monco, or did that happen once you got down to Florida? Was it like joining the family business, obviously, at that point? What was
I think
getting there?
Yeah, I think it's kind of what it was like, I saw my dad do it for so long, and I knew he was successful with it. And I was like, you know what, like, all right, like that might be a cool career path. So yeah, so in Monco, I was taking a lot of, it almost shot me in the foot because I think if I would have went to like another school, they probably wouldn't have carried over all my credits, because I was taking like some of the advanced courses up here, like, accounting and things like that. But luckily I was able to transfer all those over. And then I just, I went heavy in finance courses down there and all my other prerequisites that I needed to do. And I excelled. Like I think I finished with like a 3.96 GPA in school. Yeah. And like every teacher along the way was like, Jeff, like you can't waste the education. Like you got to keep on going. So I was like, okay, like, what does that mean? I was like, okay, so I looked at master's programs in finance. So like me, like I'm very quantitative, I'm very analytical. So so these master's in finance programs are basically like when you do those designation or those degrees, you typically go into like work for like a Wall Street bank, a hedge fund, private equity firms or whatever. And but for me, I was like, I want to give my dad's business a shot. Like I want to be an advisor, I want to sell, and it sounds so glamorous, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. So I applied different
Can I just
schools.
ask you, is this with your dad? Is this with your dad's blessing, understanding? Does he know, like, is he saying, yes, you'll be coming on board with us once you get the degree?
So I think if you would be honest with you, I don't think he ever wanted me to come into the business. I think it's not an easy business by any means. And like, I wouldn't still be working in this career if it wasn't for him and helping me out. But yeah, I mean, I think I was toying with different careers, like becoming an accountant or whatever. But as I got through like my schooling, I was like, you know what, like, let me give it a shot and just see if I like it. But yeah, and then it was just, but I wanted to keep on going on the education background. Like I went from being like not really caring much about school and, you know, middle school, high school, to like now I'm like all about it, right? And
That's maturity.
yeah, maturity, yeah. And then I applied for a couple schools, and really like my decision was, do I stay in Florida or do I move back to PA? And in Florida, like there was only two programs. One was FIU in Miami, and one was University of Florida in Gainesville. And I'm like, I don't really want to move to Gainesville. And Miami, I'm like, I don't know if I want to move to Miami. So I applied up here, and it was like St. Joe's, Temple, or Villanova. So I went to Villanova, and it was a 1-year program, 3 semesters, and like all those guys in my class and gals in my class were like, they all went on to like work for like hedge funds and, you know, all these things. And I'm going in there like working, you know, going into sales, like the one guy who's different. And but yeah, that was crazy tough program. Like I was like the big fish in the small pond down in Florida. Like, you know, I was like, you know, recognized for like the grades, but then I go up to Villanova and I'm like a small fish in a big pond. And
yeah, so everyone's telling you got to go further, you got to take this, and then you come up here and everyone's just like, what's so special about you?
yeah, dude, there's like people in my class that are like so smart, and I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, I'm not that. Like I can study well and, you know, and be fine, but like I just don't, I'm not like that genius, like, you know, where you can just do whatever you can. And but so I did that for a year, and then once I graduated, I went straight working for my dad, and been there since.
Favorite movie in high school?
Probably a comedy, like American Pie. You know, I don't know when it came, like American Pie, Road Trip. You know, like humor.
Anything with Sean William Scott in it?
Yeah, something. Yeah, exactly. And then I love dumb humor. Like even to this day, like I'll like I'd rather watch a movie than a TV show. And I'll watch the same thing over and over just to get a good laugh from it.
Band music?
So I listen to like a wide range of stuff, right? So I know you guys talk about like rap all the time. I was never into rap that much, right? Other than like,
I think we talk about Dave Matthews Band more than we talk about rap.
Dave Matthews Band. I never got into Dave Matthews Band very much. But like I don't know who, like Eve Six. I'm like Eve Six and like everything, like stupid like Limp Bizkit I would listen to. And but I tell you, I mean, you give me a Phil Collins CD, man, like that's like,
are you pumped for the return for the concert?
It pumps me up, man. Like seriously, like it's just Billy Joel, like Phil Collins,
classic rock,
Chicago. Yeah, man. Like I don't know what it is. It's just I love that stuff. Like Michael Jackson. I love Michael Jackson.
So you're like an 80s guy.
Yeah, like stuff like that, you know, like yeah, people knock on me with that. But the thing is, like, I like music, but I don't like love like music. You know, I don't really go to concerts all that much.
Okay.
But like the one thing that people would always like say to me or remember from me is like I would always be singing. Like I'm always singing, and like I'm that guy who, like, if I'm singing like Easy Lover and you hear it and you start singing it, I'm the guy who does that. Like there's like, and everybody like that earwig. It's like, you know, everybody's like,
yeah, you put the earworm in.
Yeah, you know, and it's just like, that's me. Like it's the most random things. Like Uptown Girl, I'll be singing Uptown Girl, and then so and so is going to be singing Uptown Girl across the room. You know?
So I love that music, and that music reminds me of like my childhood. I have a playlist. It's massive. It's called My Other Half. It's all songs that, like, in my eyes, white people love. It's like the music it's the music I relate to, like listening to when I was like a kid riding with my mom, you know, all the 80s like soft rock songs that would be on like 102.9 or 104.5 or one of those radio stations back in the 80s and early 90s. But I've never gone to like any of the, like I've never seen Billy Joel live in concert.
No, me neither.
I've never seen Elton John live. And I'm like, now as a grown up, especially as like, you know, the Michael Jacksons and the Whitney Houstons and the Princes, and those have like died, and I listen to that music that I love and I go, man, I'm never going to see them. and like Elton John and Billy Joel and Genesis just announced they're touring this year. I'm just like, fuck, this is my time to go, to finally go see them. Music being shut down for the last year and a half, it's killed me. But like now that I'm a grown up and I have the means to go do these things, like I'm dying to get to go see them before it's too late.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Like, yeah, I kind of fall into that trap, I guess, that stereotype of like the white music.
No, it's all white people do.
Yeah.
And it sounds terrible to say, but like,
yeah.
And there's some outliers in there, but like, it's pretty fucking sod. Like when you say E6, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, like they're like in E6 and
Jimmy Eats World.
Yeah. And what was I gonna say?
Blink 182.
Yeah, Blink 182, and I listened to Y100, like Preston and Steve, like religiously back then, and just so like a wide range of decades. But yeah, it's just today's music, it's on in the car, like the kids are listening to it, but like I just turn that dial and I pick up something it's sticking. You know what I mean?
That's so good.
I'm overriding the decision on that one.
That's funny. Weird segue. Did you date in high school?
So I had a couple dates, but they all came from, I think, like Garden Golf. So I didn't date anybody in Wissahickon. And I think part of it was just like I didn't know how to ask people out, right? It was like I had crushes on like probably every girl that went to school throughout like my life, right? It's just like it's like they're nice to you. So like, oh my gosh, like I could marry them, right? And you're like 7 years old, right? So like I had crushes, right? But like I never did anything about them. And then I think I had like a couple dates in high school that was there. And then but that was really it. Like I was like so shy with that stuff. Like I never pursued anything.
You said you worked the Friday night shift. So then like for your social world, and I know you kind of like a limited group of people that you hung out with anyway, but like, were you privy to any of that, like any of those groups that were like having parties, or were you like drinking or anything like that? Like from like a fun standpoint, were you like venturing out into any of those aspects of life as a kid?
Not really. No, I don't know. It was more like when I hung out with people, it was like 1-to-1 type of things, or like small group, but like nighttime stuff. No, and I don't know if that was just me avoiding it, or just like working things like things like that, right? I don't really know. But I was never a big part. Like I'm still today not a big partier. To me, like even drinking, like I'll have like I'll have 2 beers. Like that's it, right? Like it's pretty much like I was never a big drinker. And I think part of it was like my grandfather was an alcoholic. So like I like didn't want to be like that. You know what I mean? Like it was just like I could see the problems it caused, and health problems and family problems. And I just like I remember like I was in my parents' like bar area, and I literally drained all their liquor bottles. I was like, this is bad for you. So I like dumped them all down the freaking drain, like probably hundreds of dollars of like vodka and rum, whatever it was. I'm surprised they didn't kill me. And because I was such so like it's funny how I like rebelled, but then like I was also like a goody two shoes, in that like I was like, smoking's bad for you. Like I remember like my mom, like my dad used to smoke like a pipe and cigars, and my mom used to smoke cigarettes, and I was like, this is bad for you. Like I would guilt them into like stopping. So I was like that person, that kid who like thought I was better than everybody by like preaching my values on them. But yeah, no, I don't think I like really went to any parties or anything like that. It was like, yeah, I probably was working, or like at home, or things like that. Yeah, I was never a big partier. So I probably was invited probably here and there, but I never went. Like I just never. Did you
want to go to those? Like, yeah. we all laugh because I like to talk about the show. Like I have just like, envy or whatever. And I look back and it's like, oh, I missed out on those things.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like not everyone liked that sort of fun. Did you?
It's not me. Yeah, I'm not a big partier to begin with. I like
And you
having
don't like,
fun.
and you don't even like music really like that either. Like no
Yeah,
one's
yeah.
letting you to like,
I'm like the boring white guy, man. Like,
yeah.
no one wants to hang out with me. It's just
I don't
it.
see like Brad McGoldrick having like a, hey, we're listening to Phil Collins in the basement. Like,
That's
come,
right.
got to come over, dude.
That's right, man. That's right. So it was like, yeah, like, it wasn't my scene. So like, probably if I did have like invites, I probably wasn't taking people up on it. Let alone, like, I don't know if my parents would even have let me go, honestly, like with that stuff. So, I guess it'd be different if I was driving. But yeah, I mean, at that point, I was like just so focused on like working, and yeah, and I was probably like who are these, like I don't need to party. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to get drunk and get wasted. You know what I mean? Like, it was just.
I was very much that, and I think it was more like a, because I'm not involved, like I'm just gonna shit on it type of thing.
Yeah, you
But I was,
rationalized it.
yeah, but I was very much like you in that, like I can remember like telling on this kid who was maybe like 16 in the neighborhood because I knew he smoked cigarettes and like, oh,
Yeah.
Jason smokes cigarettes, and he'd be like, shut the fuck up, kid. And
Yeah. Well,
like,
I know you guys, like, you always get kind of like bash the safeties. Well, I was the safety. You know what I mean? So it was just stuff like that where
you say it with so much pride. I hate that, Jeff.
actually, man, I loved being the safety.
Yeah. So you were the Bluebell safety. So you would also, were you also like patrolling? That was the thing, right? It was like there were no boundaries. So like I got told on by a safety once at Shady Grove for some shit I did on the bus.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like, yo, like we just walked from the same street, like back home. How are you going to tell on me on the bus? You're not on the clock yet.
that orange thing gives
And
you the power. Gives you the power, man.
Did you get the badge right? You had to memorize, as I remember, you had to memorize the oath to get the badge.
Yeah, that sounds about right. 'Cause I remember, I want to say there was like a captain, lieutenant, sergeant,
Yeah.
I think, and I might have got up to like a sergeant or something. I don't remember, and I don't.
What a fucked up system. I remember that so well. What a fucked up system.
Dude, yeah,
Captain. I'm captain of the safeties of
right.
third grade elementary school.
But, yeah, I probably abused the power to a certain degree, like probably most of the safeties did, right? But like, I don't remember what it was, but I do remember, like, I felt like powerful because you're like, oh, people got to listen to you because you have you have the badge.
You know what I did with those kids? I punch them in the fucking face, Jeff. Go tell now.
Yeah, so it's just, but yeah, I remember doing that. But I think it was just elementary school, right? I don't think they did that for older ages, right? I don't think.
No. It was just an elementary school thing. But it was just so fucked up. I remember even like you had to remember the oath. I remember some of those kids never even bothered. They're just walking around with that raggedy orange sash, no badge, nothing. They just like, nah, I'm in the group. I can tell. I get to tell.
Yeah, it's probably all the white kids probably got those positions, right? So.
Like, pizza parties. Oh my God. All the stupid kids would have to, all the stupid bad kids would have to like go leave for like gym class while the safeties get to have a fucking pizza party in their classrooms. And
yeah, so that's like the thing. Like, so like it's like great you bring it up because like from my perspective, I thought it was like the best thing that ever existed, right? But like from your end, you're like, I'm the guy who's getting crapped on.
Yeah, safeties and enrichment were the first two things in school that I remember just feeling so inadequate, like just feeling dumb, bad, feeling like I didn't belong to a crew, to a group. I never had, back then, everyone kind of has to invite you to the birthday parties. You have to give everyone like a Valentine's Day card. So like there was no real like, I would have animosity with kids because I would be like a bully or I would talk back or whatever. Or I would be annoying to kids, but like, it wasn't until like, oh no, like, like the kid that you got in a fight with 3 weeks ago that he started it, but you got the blame. That kid's a safety. You go, him? That kid's a safety? How is that kid a safety? And you're just thinking like, maybe I'll be a safety this year. And then the teacher's like, seriously, you thought you were going to be a safety? And you're like, I don't know. I thought I was being pretty good like this week or, like that and enrichment were like the two where I would just hear it from kids like, oh, we're in enrichment or we're a safety, it just,
Yeah, see, that's like the perspectives that you just never see. Like, you know what I mean? Like I never, like you said, you got into fights and stuff like that. Like I might have had like a couple scuffles here and there, but like I avoided it. Like, you know what I mean? I was just trying to be like the funny guy, or like, you know, to myself. And but yeah, I never got pegged that way. But I mean, I could definitely see, you know, I mean, like, but people always gave me the benefit of the doubt, right? And I don't know what that was, if I was just talking myself out of being in trouble or what. But like,
Yeah, never back down.
yeah. I mean, like, I'll back down. Like, yeah, I mean, I didn't want to get my ass whooped, right? Like, it's just, you know, you talk tough until someone actually wants to fight you.
But you were gonna have to prove that you could whoop my ass for me to. I'd back down the second time. Like second time, I go, shit hurt last time. I think we're just gonna lay out on this one. But like you had to prove that to me. Well, and I wasn't tough, but I didn't know what tough or like knowing how to fight. I didn't know what any of that was. It was just me. It was more like, well, who could be the loudest, who could be the boldest, who could be the scariest.
Yeah. I don't think we, like, you and I ever had much interaction. I don't think ever, right?
No,
but I don't really.
No, the only thing I remember was just always I would yell your last name, Marsico, and that would be it.
More people call me like Marsico or yeah. Like, everybody would slightly change it. Like I remember, like Justin Hammond, like he would always call me like Marsico Maradona, Marsico Marinara, like, you know, things like that. Yeah, just different iterations and things like that. That's the one cool thing that I always loved about my last name, was like, you know, it just sounded good. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I heard that a lot. Like someone used to call me like Psycho Seco. You know what I mean? Because I probably like flipped out at him, right? Yeah, just stuff like that. It's
that's a T-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, a good thing. Like, yeah, it's like a good thing. Like
Psycho Seco.
Psycho Seco. Like I remember, like I never got teased that much. But I do remember, like, I don't know if I ever like say anything to him, or I might have. I don't know. But like I remember Vern used to call me like Skunk Boy, because like I have like you can see like the gray patch right there.
Yeah.
On my hair. Yeah, it's like it's like it's always been there. You know,
yeah, like a birthmark thing, right? Like Tony Antonici had a similar. He had blonde.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Just like around the front of his bangs.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I do remember that. Yeah, and and just stuff like that. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, I mean, I was pretty lucky. I think like
you didn't punch Vern in the face for that.
I don't know. He's bigger than me, man. He probably whooped my butt. Probably.
I got in a fight with Vern once. It was right after I got in a fight. I was on suspension in middle school from getting in a fight with RJ Smythe. That weekend, I went to teen night at the YMCA on suspension. I'm on suspension. And like now I'm like, everyone saw me beat this kid up in the bathroom. Now no one will fuck with me ever. Or they'll get the same, they'll get the same business.
Yeah, you're a big man. Yeah.
And I found myself like face to face with Vern, and I tried the same move. I gave him that same punch I just given RJ like 2 days earlier. And like Vern doesn't move, and Vern punches me back. And I remember like trying not to move, but I was just like, wow, so every fight's different.
The only thing I remember about you, and this might not be true at all, I might be just making this up, but I feel like you had like a walk, like a certain style walk, almost like a bounce to your step type of thing, almost like a kind of like a goofy walk. I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like that's what I remember of you, is like, you know.
Oh my God. So I don't know. No one's ever told me that before.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I kind of remember.
But you know, being a big wrestling fan, I used to always walk into school like feeling I would hype myself up. So I would always walk in like a wrestler. In my head.
That's true. So maybe it's true.
It might be. What's funny is you might have seriously seen me like walking like this, like thinking I'm like Bret Hart, because Bret Hart used to wear these big jackets with these shoulder pads and these tassels, and they would like bounce, and he would kind of walk like this, and he like touch the fans, and like on the side he like high five the fans, but he'd be like walking like this, and so I would like walk like that down the hall.
So I'm probably right, man. I'm probably right.
You probably saw me. Yeah, you probably saw me. What the fuck is he doing?
Like a hop to your step. Yeah. Like a bounce. Like it's almost like you're Jello. Like you're bouncing off Jello type of thing.
That's funny. That's one of those things that no one's ever said to me or mentioned. But I remember I did absolutely used to do that sort of.
Okay, my memory's not that too bad, I guess. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. No, but it's those things I kind of just pull back and remember. But I never tried to. I would never start like someone like you or Vern, dude. Like, you're bigger than me. I'm not. I'm not going there, man. Ever.
You
So
never know, man. You
yeah,
you never know. Like, like Ray was a small kid, but Ray knew karate. You
yeah,
never knew. Like, you don't want to fuck with
that's
the wrong
true.
kid.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, there were some pretty strong, like intimidating people, man, that I would never cross that. Like, maybe I would fight back a little bit, like like verbally, but like once it gets close to like fisticuffs, man, I'm backing down. Not going there.
I was always down to try at least once.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah, it's
Just got to see what it's like one time.
yeah, man.
It's like running into a brick wall. It's like, I just got to try it like one time. Just,
Gotta try it.
yeah,
Yeah.
just see what it's like.
Oh man. Actually, brick wall. I mean, I do. Do you remember? What was it? It was like the knockout stuff that people were doing. Remember, like it would like I feel like you would like hold your arms there and you would like breathe in and people like push against the wall. Remember that to like black out? Do you remember that?
No.
No, I remember there was like a thing. I forget exactly what it was, but something like that. It was like a stupid thing that you probably shouldn't be doing. But I remember like it was like high school or something. Um, People were trying to do like a blackout game where you would like try to block yourself out.
Like hold your breath or something, or
Yeah, and then you would like I think like really try to like almost like push you against the wall real quick to
I kind of remember
yeah,
like a hold your breath thing, but I've been
yeah
watching
something like that.
but I've been watching a lot of Criminal Minds, and that could have
Yeah,
been just like some online school
just
game that like
yeah.
that Hotch and the crew were trying to like get to the bottom of.
Yeah, no, I feel like that was like a thing. I remember it was like like for me, it's like I would never do that crap. It's like nah, like like me like being like the safe person. I'm like that's dumb, But I feel like
Yeah.
that's like a thing going on too.
Where'd you meet your wife?
So I was finishing college in Florida, and like I had decided to go to Villanova, and but I finished college in December. Like I did it kind of like off cycle.
Yep.
So I had like 6 months before Villanova started. So I just hopped on like match.com, just trying to like find people like, move back up and just kind of be back in the area and things like that. And I think she was like literally the first person I connected with on
Oh
there.
wow.
And, I moved back up here. Like we were, talking and things like that. Like what she was here in Philadelphia, I was down in Florida. And then once I moved back up here, like we went on our first date and then it hit it off, never looked back. Like I knew it was right. You know what I mean? Like never had a doubt in my mind. Like even like probably like the first time I talked to her via like email or whatever, I knew that was it. So, like a really cool feeling, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it was, but it was just felt right. You know what I mean? And then just from there, like just, normal dating, like I was living at my parents' house and, she was doing her master's in at Jefferson. So like I would just like go into the train every weekend and we would just spend the weekend in Philly and then, and just progress from there and got engaged and got married and all that stuff. And here we are today.
What's your wife's name?
Amy.
Can I ask what nationality is your wife? Because you've got biracial kids.
Yeah, she's Indian. So she is first generation born in America. And so her parents are from India.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, like I mean, I'm pretty you know, speckled over from my background, like Italian last name, but I'm like only like 20% Italian. So like yeah, they're a mix of me and then they're half Indian as well. Yeah.
That's cool. That's a new one. We talked about like black and white and
Mm-hmm.
Latino but that's a new one, Indian. What's it like growing up white, growing up in Gwinnett Valley? You talked about having like a mix of friends, especially like,
Mm-hmm.
Korean, some sort of like Asian, but what's it like then getting into a biracial or a interracial relationship and having biracial kids? It's a different
Yeah.
world to own it.
Yeah, it's so I so my family was always fine with it, right? Like they're like, love who you love, and they always liked Amy, and never. I mean, she's a pharmacist by training, like super smart, and good person, but like, yeah, her parents had a hard time, when they when they found out she was dating me. It was like her dad, they were born in India. He came over, started working, and kind of laid the roots here in America, and he became like an engineer for Revlon and Estee Lauder. So he became very successful in his own right. And but he's much more Americanized than my mother-in-law. So my mother-in-law, always a stay-at-home mom, very religious. They're Hindu. So, but yeah, I remember like I came home with her to meet them, and I remember her mom like crying like all night, like in her bedroom, and yeah, it was tricky. But it's like me, like I never thought of it that way. You know what I mean? I was just like, I literally never thought of it that way. And then like when like that kind of came up, it was like, that's really interesting. You know what I mean? But they got over it. Like I think, I think from her part, she was worried that like, like I'm I'm not very religious at all. So like, for me, it's like, be a good person, like, treat everyone with respect. Like, and I think when her mom realized that like, I'm not going to like be like this Catholic person coming into like a Hindu family and, not jiving that way. She was cool with it. Right. So they love me now. Like it was just like that initial, I think, kind of shock factor. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a cool thing. Like the Indian culture is unbelievable, like very family oriented, like much different from how I grew up. Like I didn't really know my cousins very well and rarely got together with them. But like my sister, my wife, like her and her sister and her cousins are like, it's almost as if they're all sisters. Like they all know each other. They talk every day. And things like that. But it was definitely like a culture shock to a certain degree because like, like we got engaged and married. We had an Indian wedding and like, you're doing like these little ceremonies and I'm wearing like full blown Indian garb and like, I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? Like it was like me and like, like 300 Indian people in my wedding who I have no idea who they were.
Yeah.
And like doing these like weird things. I have no idea what, like, I'm
just trying to do the right thing and not offend and just.
Yeah, exactly. So I still joke around that I'm like the white devil, in the family, you know what I mean? But like, and it's so funny too, because like you see like any photo and it's like, I'm like 6 foot, like buck 85, like, like I guess, somewhat average, but like most Indian people are not very tall. So like in every photo, I'm like this massive guy next to everybody. And I'm like the, pure white and everybody's got like this tan, like brown skin. And it's so fun. It's just so funny. But yeah, it's cool. Like, and like, I know like your experiences, it's hard being like biracial and like, you hope, people understand and stuff like that. But like, I mean, luckily we haven't had any of those issues. You know what I mean? Like it's, I think it's becoming so much more common now, like these interracial relationships. Um, and I feel like it's like a cool thing. It's like my kids, like people say like how like beautiful they are. Like I remember you said like child model. Like I always like to tell my kids, I'm like, you guys, like, can we sign you up for like modeling? Because like I think like you photograph so well, you know what I mean? And like,
yeah, photogenic is what I used to. You're so photogenic. That's what I used to always get.
yeah, it's crazy. And like, but yeah, we've never run into like any issues like ever, like in terms of like, like racism or anything like that. But I know like my neighbor 2 houses down, he's white and his wife is black. And they were living in Georgia, coming up to here. And I mean, a couple, a year ago or so, I remember like when we were doing our walks with COVID because we couldn't go anywhere, like, he was telling me stories about like, they would get nasty looks and even like people would like, even like their son, their firstborn son, like, I think someone asked like, is that yours or something that's like so rude, which is just like mind boggling to me, like stuff like that. And
Oh, dude, I remember. I remember my cousin coming to Wissahickon. My cousin from out of state and came to visit. White, right? My whole Jewish family is, just white, and so he came
Yeah.
to do a day at school with me once. And we're in the locker room, and someone asked us. They go, "Which one of you two is the adopted one?"
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, "What the?"
Yeah. It's just like, and even like the area I live in. So I'm in like Chester County. Like it's like you go like our neighborhood has like, I don't know, I think 500 homes or something, 400 homes. You walk outside and like it's like half Indian people live in this community. You know what I mean? So like for me, it's like I don't know what people think behind the scenes, but I mean, generally speaking, like I've never had an issue like ever. You know what I mean? Like if anything, I think people love me more than like try to push me out, right? In Amy's family or whatever. Like, so it's always been pretty good. And I don't know if that's just like a sign of the times where like it was taboo to like divorce, like especially in Indian culture, like a lot of prearranged marriages. Um, things like that. But it's changed. I mean, like I see it so much more now. You know what I mean? But yeah, luckily, like we've never had. And I don't know if that's just like the times have slightly changed. Just the area we live in, like But
Maybe a little bit of both.
yeah,
When for me growing up, it was. I always joke, it's like it was me and Lenny Kravitz. We were the only
yeah,
ones, and Mariah Carey were.
yeah. And I never knew you were. Yeah, you were mixed. Yeah, I mean, until you
Yeah.
mentioned it on the cast. You know what I mean? But it's like I mean, it's hard to know, right? Like.
So a lot of people just thought I was Indian.
I was like going to say that. I'm like, for the longest part, I thought you were, yeah, like Indian. You know what I mean? But like,
Well, that's the boring thing for people when they ask. They go,
yeah,
"Oh, what are you?" And "Are you Indian or Samoan or
yeah,
Middle Eastern or Hawaiian?" And I'm just black and white. And they go, "Oh," because
yeah,
they've heard that already. Like Drake is just
yeah,
like just oversaturated the market with black biracial Jewish kids, and so now it's just
yeah.
the most boring shit ever to people when they
You're
ask.
not exotic enough. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's I'm sure it's like super challenging, but you're right. It's like I think it can hurt like your identity, and it's but yeah, I think hopefully. I mean, I know it's different depending on where you live in the country and the world, but like, yeah, I think luckily, like, generally, like like the coastal areas are generally more accepting with stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's a cool thing because like I just even though it's like I never had Indian food until I met my wife. You know what I mean? Like it's just,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I had like Chinese food, you know what I mean? And like American food, right?
American Chinese food, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And then like um and then now it's like Indian food's like one of my favorite things to eat, you know what I mean? And but yeah, it's different. I mean, they're vegetarian, so like I'm the only like eater with stuff and um but like other than that, yeah, it's been like a pretty good situation. You know what I mean? Like I'm part of their family, they're part of mine, and
Yeah.
so it's been pretty cool.
Thought that was interesting. Like you don't see people for years and years, and then you start, especially now, I start looking at people's Facebooks, see what's going on, and what are they up to, and then you look, and I'm just like, oh wow, Jeff's got a whole Brown family.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah.
interesting.
Hey, did he adopt those kids or?
Yeah, yeah. Which one of your kids are adopted?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's yeah, it's funny, but it's like it's just, but like what, I see it more and more, especially like in my life, is like I meet like my clients. I have a lot of interracial marriage clients. You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
it's just so common to me. Even um, even like sexual orientation too, right? Like I have clients that are gay and married, and it changes their planning dynamic, which has become easier with stuff, but like for tax law purposes. But like, I mean, I see all that stuff, right? Like it's just so to me, it's like no different from my own normal day, right? But yeah, I could definitely see like someone who's just not used to it. But like to me, it's I never expected to marry an Indian person, but it's like that's how the cards fell, right? But like
We love who you love.
yeah, I don't regret it at all. Um, but yeah, it's a cool thing. It's just definitely a culture shock. Like when you don't have, for me, like my tradition was like Christmas. Like I was there, like nothing. We didn't celebrate anything. But
Right.
like, you go to India and like every month there's like something going on, like that's like, religiously important. And I'm like, oh, all right, whatever. Like I'll join in. And but yeah, it's a cool, it's a really cool culture for sure.
How old are your kids?
My son Kyle is 9.5, and then my daughter's 6.
Did you want kids? I mean, want to get married, kids? Was that always something in the cards for you, or that you wanted to
Yeah,
do?
yeah, we were pretty much like on board to have them. Like we got married in 20, 2010, and I was born November 2011. So like, about a year and a half after we got married, and then but yeah, we were always on board like having kids, and we were pretty much sure just to have 2. Like we didn't want any more, even though I'm the third. You know what I mean? I was like, I think 2 is good.
Yeah. How much older is it? Brothers? 2 brothers or
Yeah, my
a
sister.
mix?
So I'm 37. My brother's 40, and my sister's 43. So we're all like 3 years apart.
Tell me about financial planning. So I mean, it worked out for you for your plan. You end up in the family business, and it's
Yeah,
been, would you say, 13 years later?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's good. It is one of the hardest businesses that like you can really ever go into because when I came out of school, I was I guess mid 20s or whatever it was. Like nobody wants to trust you with their finances, right? Like I mean, like I never bought a house. I never did this or did that. And you're trying to give people financial advice, like to do it, right? So like really the biggest thing a lot of times was like life insurance. Like I was reaching out and, oh, you bought a house, you got married, like you have kids, like buy some life insurance, and that was like the easier sell. And I reached out to a lot of people that I knew. Like you were supposed to develop like a list of like 300 people, and you would call them, and and I kind of reconnected with like Ryan Dunn. Um, and then like Scott Beck, like I would meet. He worked in like Conshohocken, so we would go for lunch. Like there's a Thai place right there, an awesome Thai place, and like we always talk and catch up. And then he actually referred me to like one of his coworkers, and I still work with her to this day, and she's referred me to a bunch of people. So like it was really tough. Like it was like a lot of times I wanted to quit because like I made no money. I was working all the time, and very stressful. And then like I just kept on working. I learned from my dad, and we had a couple other advisors that worked for us, um, and I kind of gradually got into like the medical market, like doctors and nurses. So I would do seminars where I would just, come up to a hospital, buy them lunch, and talk about like have an emergency fund and, pay down your debt this way, and, put money in a 401k, and this is why you need insurance. And I did that like 20, 30 times a year. I would just reach out to these programs and do it. Um, and I got good at it. Like, and then the longer I got in the business, the more comfortable I was. And then I personally, like, I got married and I bought a house, we had kids, and I started experiencing these things in real life. So you fast forward to today, and I draw on like things that I've been through personally, but also what I've seen happen. And I've seen the craziest things happen. My dad has seen it too. And so now I'm like in a much better spot. It's more kind of like before it was like my income was like this, right? Like I would have a great month. Next month I would make 0. And you're like, where's my business going to come from? But now it's like a little bit more even. And the cool part I like about it is just like the stories, right? Like, it's like, okay, I'm single, I'm living in Philly. I started my own video production company. I love that. Like, I love hearing about those things, like what motivates people, like what's important to them. Because, like, we joke about it. Like, I'm like the white dude with the family, like, listen to Phil Collins, right? Like, golfing. And you're like, yeah, it fits the bill, right? But, like, I like to hear the more exciting stories too, right? Like, why did you do it? Like, and then I can help. And then, I can help, like, okay, so you did this and you want to get here, like, how can I help out on the financial side? So it's like, okay, like physicians, for example, have 400 grand of student loan debt a lot of times. It's, even though they make good income, it's debilitating. So it's like, okay, well, how do we efficiently pay that off? Or, I got married, I'm having kids, like we want to buy our house for the first time. Like, how does that work? Like, do we need a down payment? Like, how do we get financing? Things of that nature. And then, a big part of my practice is insurances. So like, if people, want to protect their spouses, their kids, business partners, it's life insurance, disability insurance, investments. Like, I want to put my kids through college. Like, how do I save for that? I want to retire one day. How do I do it? So, I work with people in all different realms, from widows to divorcees to retired couples to people like us who are young, who have, I just got referred to a client, a prospect. He opened a bagel shop in Philly last year, and I'm talking to him about business planning and things like that. So that's what it is. And yeah, I work with my dad. So like, he's got that 40 years experience, and he's at the peak of his career. I mean, he just grows and grows and grows because, like, his clients are similar ages, and people refer people to him all the time. And so I do more of the planning things with clients, and then my brother does more of the investments. So like, he'll do the trading and the models and proposals, and we work as a team, and it's fun. Like, we get along, and clients, I think, really enjoy it because they're like the Marsico boys. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, if my dad's not available, I'll call Dave or Jeff, or vice versa. And they know there's a continuation of planning. They know my dad's not going to, I mean, he just turned 70. Like, it's not, he's going to work, but yeah, I mean, the day's going to come where he can't, right? So it's just, they know us, that we're there, that we can help out. So it's been a pretty cool experience from that side. It's a cool career. It's a much needed career. Like, it's very male heavy. Like, it's like 95% male advisors, and the average age is like 60 years old. So like, there's going to be a lot of people retiring, getting out of it. And there's a need, right? I mean, there's a lot of these online services and robo advisors and things like that. But at the end of the day, like, I tell people the difference is, like, if you need me, like, call me on the weekend, call me in an evening. Like, I'm not going to like neglect your phone call. Like, I'm not going to be able to answer it right away, but I'll get back to you pretty darn quick if something happens, right? Like, you can't call a 1-800 number on a Saturday. They're not going to answer it, right? So it's still always going to be a personal business. But yeah, it's that's the cool thing. Like I said, like, I don't, like, you get me going on work, like I'll talk like forever, you know what I mean, and be that extroverted person. But like, yeah, it's but yeah, I mean, I've come a long way. Like, before, when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah. If what's the name of the company?
Diamond State Financial Group.
So if someone like wanted to, like, someone's like listening to go, okay, I remember Jeff. God, I do have to do something. Could they actually like get in touch with you and like start the process?
Yeah. So what happened was, my dad always owned his own firm. He had a business partner, 50-50. That guy retired. My dad then bought him out, owned the practice. 3.5 years ago. So we merged with Diamond State, which is much larger than we were. Like, we were only like 6 advisors. Diamond State, we have like 35 advisors now, like, very large. So my office is in media, but our main office is in Newark, Delaware. So it's a Diamond State, Delaware State. So it was just a timing thing. Like, the other downside was, like, my mom had passed away right around the same time, unexpectedly. So 3.5 years ago. So like,
sorry, man.
Yeah, thank you. And it was just a lot of just change and turmoil and things like that. But like, we're still, we work for Diamond State. We have no ownership in it, but we're our own team within the practice. But I'm essentially self-employed. Like, I'm not employed by them. My business is run through them. So yeah, you could Google Diamond State or Google my name. It should pop up. And yeah, it's like I tell anybody, like, I'll listen to what you need. And if I can help, I can help. If not, I'll let you know. It's,
yeah.
nothing magical, but
this would be the moment, Jeff.
Yeah.
That I go to the yearbook.
Yeah.
See what you got. See what you got cooking here.
Pull that mugshot out. That's right.
Let's see here. We go to the M's. Still looks like you. All right. Yeah. We have got Horticulture Club. Two clubs. That's it. Horticulture Club in 9.
Mm-hmm.
What were you growing? Where were you?
Oh, I have no idea. I probably just joined. So I don't know. I probably just joined it just to join it to get it there. But yeah, I didn't.
That's an odd one to just pick randomly.
Yeah, I don't know. I bet my brother did it. I bet, and then I probably just like, oh, okay, I'll do it probably.
And then I like this because this feels like, even though you said you had no, you didn't really have like a desire, like a career goal or anything like that outside of like baking. Your other club was Future Business Leaders of America.
Yeah.
In 11th grade, which I like, I like full circles. I find this is, now we go, oh, there's some, unless you just join this on a whim too, but there seems to be something here.
There could have been a reason there. Yeah, because in college, I started like a business club too down in Florida. So I always liked the business side of things. That makes sense. But yeah, I wasn't super active in school. Like, I don't know. It was like that, not like I was just so focused on like cooking. There was nothing else that could replace it, which that was a mistake. Like I probably should have been more active and stuff, but it
worked out in the end. Do you still bake?
Not as much anymore. Like
because you hear that Austrian dude just in your ear. Just
it's like
more salt. I don't know if that's the accent. I've just made that up.
That's right. I know, right?
Sorry to anyone that's Austrian.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. More of it is just like a time issue, right? Like it's just with work and then like the kids, like, and just like even just trying to get dinner on the table. Like the last thing I'm doing is baking cupcakes or something, right? Like, but it's fun, man. Like it's very fun to like create something, right? Like it's just, I'm not even that creative, but like it's cool to do something like that. But yeah, I haven't done much lately. It's super rusty, but yeah, I was doing it like, kind of pre-kids, like if someone had like a party going on or like a birthday,
okay,
I would dust it off and crank it out. But yeah, it's a shame. I did lose a lot of the passion for it, which is,
that's so interesting.
It sucks. Yeah, kind of stinks. But I did.
Whiplash, man.
Yeah. It was, look at, you ask anybody, it was like, yeah, like, Jeff's probably gonna be a pastry chef and place, and that was it. But yeah, no, it changed.
Your quote is an actual quote. There are 2 things to aim at in life: first, to get what you want, and after that, to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Logan Pearsall Smith.
That sounds like me. Yeah.
Who is that? Logan Pearsall Smith.
I have no idea. I
hope it's not Pearsall. I hope I don't.
Yeah, Eve 6 or something. Phil Collins quote or something.
I can feel it coming.
That's right. Yeah. Easy lover.
Good luck to class of 2001. Thanks to JD, MF, and TH. Justin Duffner.
That'd be Justin Duffner for sure. Yeah.
MF.
I don't know who that is. Some of those might not be in Wissahickon either.
Yeah, and TH.
It could have been like a garden golf thing or like a William Pennant thing.
Would you put a garden golf guy in your Wissahickon yearbook?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. MF. I don't know. What was the other one?
TH.
TH. That might be what, like the one owner's son who worked at Garden Golf. Tom Heckler.
Yeah, I'm looking. I don't see any THs in the yearbook, and the only MF just off the top of my head that I can think of is like Molly Foose. And I'm gonna guess you were not shouting her out.
No, I don't think so. Not that time. I think Molly went to think blue belt though. I think so.
Just looking at the Fs, there's only like 4 Fs in the school. So
Yeah, it was
none of
probably
them are.
outside of Wissahickon. Yeah, because I mean, I was pretty much checked out in senior year because I was only there half a day, and I was working the rest of it.
Interesting. So yeah, true to form. You remember it. You remember it pretty accurately. Then you had a couple friends in there, and but not too clicked up, and rest of your world was kind of outside. Interesting
Yeah,
enough, I was actually Justin Duffner was one of my few friends that near the end of high school we used to have lunch together, and
yeah,
actually was like one of the real friends that I used to like hang out. Used to go to his house. We used to go to Sixers games and stuff together. So
Justin's a great guy. I actually saw him years after school because my wife's sister is a doctor, and she graduated from um, was it one of the New York State schools for med school, and Justin was in her graduating class. So like when we went up to whatever town it was for her graduation, I like look over and I don't know if I saw him first or he saw me first, but it was him graduating. So I guess he's a physician somewhere. I don't know
yeah, I
where.
think I want to say he is in Arizona, if I have that right. Last time
Yeah,
I talked to him properly, I was in California, and so was he, and we weren't far from each other. And we were trying to meet up, and then we just kind of like one of those things where it's like, are we meeting? Are we meeting? And then like zero contact, and I just never talked to him again. He
yeah,
follows me on Instagram in some way, and
yeah,
he's on. I think he knows about the podcast, so maybe he'll listen to this.
yeah.
But
I
Duffner,
was
we
yeah,
want to fucking hear from you, dude.
yeah. I always thought Duffin was awesome, and I mean, one guy I always thought was an unbelievable was Scott Beck. Man, like he was always super chill, down to earth, and I knew
Yeah.
he was probably one of the kid. I knew him probably one of the longest out of like anybody that's I think he went to Bluebell. So um,
Great break dancer.
yeah, yeah, So and I mean, unfortunately, I haven't talked to him in years, unfortunately. But I mean, we used to go to lunch all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a nice trip down memory lane, that's for sure. Yeah, there you go.
Still
My,
looks still
my
looks the
brother.
same. I got to tell you, I saved this to the end because I don't want it to be awkward. But in looking at your Facebook pictures, you got
Yeah.
nice eyes, Jeff.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. You ever get that?
People love so I got like hazel eyes and I got long eyelashes. So like my entire life,
People think you're wearing eyeliner and whatnot.
yeah, it's like like the snuffleupagus type of eyes. My kids have it too, and yeah, I mean like even you go to like doctor's appointments. Oh my gosh, look at your long eyelashes.
Yeah, I've got really long eyelashes too. I get the same. But I
Yeah.
was looking, I was like, he's got really nice eyes, and never really looked at him before. Just
Oh yeah,
stands out in the pictures.
yeah, no, I never heard that, but for other than the eyelashes, but yeah, no, it's
Be an eye model.
eye model. That's right.
All right. If you're going to get the kids into the childhood modeling, maybe look into the eye modeling portion, the adult eye
That's right.
modeling
That's right.
portion.
Like Costanza with hand
Hand
modeling.
models, yes. Go out in sunglasses. You got to protect the investment at all times.
I know, right? I know the things I know now that I did, I never knew, right? It was, but yeah, I don't know, I was that the gray spot and receding hairline, it's just, I
Brother,
missed my chance, I guess.
I'm getting over all that shit.
Yeah. Well, I do like I have the goatee and it just came out of the pandemic, but like, dude, I can't grow hair right here. You know what I mean? Like, so when I see your beard, it's like you're a real man compared to me with, like just like two hairs will pop out. That's basically it.
Listen, I only have this beard because I can't stand shaving.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it grows too quick. I mean, I used to working at Wawa, like my beard would like start, you have to be clean shaven. I just couldn't keep up. I couldn't shave every day. I'm just not that attentive to my face, So like once I became old enough, it's just like, oh, you know what? I guess it just kind of grew in, and all I have to do now is just like look and just go, okay, that looks straight. But now we're ready to head out versus I've got to clean all this up. Oh,
Yeah.
back in the day of like the disposable razors and you're trying to get the scruff off, I would go through like 9 fucking razors just to clean my face.
Oh yeah, man. I never had that problem, dude. Like baby face, like, yeah, it's like getting carded still. I'm like, dude, I'm not even remotely.
Now, when I do shave, I look 15 years younger. I have dimples. I've got like completely, but it takes that only lasts for like a day and a half, and then like the beard starts coming right back. It goes right back to this the next day.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I'll never have that problem. But it's funny, man. Like back then, it's like I'm doing like what was it? Like the gel in the hair, like LA Looks or whatever it was called or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like think it looks cool, but it's terrible, and crap like that. But
that's how we all were.
Yeah, it was
I barely combed my hair in high school.
Yeah, I think I had like a bowl cut in middle school at one point. It's terrible.
Everyone did. Everyone had the split down the center bowl cut.
Yeah, man, terrible. Yeah, it's like, I know it's amazing I wasn't picked on, but
yeah,
it's all right.
Well, this has been
safety power, so I was okay.
Yeah, dude, your whole safety career. Everyone knows you're gonna go to fucking elementary school jail if you mess with Jeff.
That's right, man. That's right.
He's gonna throw the book at you.
I lay the law down. I should have been a cop in real life,
Now that would have been it's like, oh yes, I love being a safety so much I decided to do it for a living.
That's right. It's right. Maybe a career change in a couple of years. We'll see.
Well, awesome, man. Thanks so much for doing this. I'm glad, I love the daytime soberer talks.
Right.
It's always a nice change of pace for me to be a little more bright eyed than, the 10 o'clock vodka filled conversation. So I appreciate you having the time available.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I know. If it was after hours, man, like what we drink in the burbs here is like it's basically White Claw. So, it's like the white suburban drink, man. Just
it's the law.